like work or a chore or a very serious burden. Burnout doesn't just happen to our employees. It burns us out, leaders, just as much, if not more, than our teams. So today, we're not going to focus on the doom and gloom of burnout. We're going to talk about the solutions and the power moves that we can take. So I'm going to define what burnout really is and what it isn't. We're going to uncover why we struggle to face it as leaders. And most importantly, we're going to explore how to recognize the warning signs before those flames end up spreading over to our teams. So my challenge to you for the next 60 minutes is to be real, to stay open, and to reflect honestly, because I love to use self-reflection questions throughout my trainings, and I have several today. The only way for us to extinguish burnout is to stop pretending that the fire is not there. So let's get into it. As I move through the session, I want you to jot down any insights, strategies, aha moments that you have that you can use to help you determine what you should start, what you should stop, and what you should continue to do to help you navigate your journey with burnout and also the journey for your team members. I just want you to be thinking, what can I start doing? What can I stop doing? And what can I continue to do that I'm already doing well to help you on this journey? This is going to be your homework action and your takeaway from the training. So I'll ask this question again at the end for you. Now, before we begin, I want to do a quick pulse check. So I need to know from you in the chat, on a scale of a candle flicker to a full-blown bonfire, how burned out are you today? Are you a candle or are you a bonfire? How burned out are you today? Tell me in the chat. Okay, I see a candle. Three candles, Colleen? Okay. Tina says she's a bonfire. Okay, Tina. Prayers up for you, girl. I'm thinking of you right now. I got something for you. Wanda says she's somewhere in between. Heather, hey, Heather girl, multiple candles. Melissa says more than a candle, not quite a bonfire. If I had to be honest with y'all today, I am a candle that is being burned at both ends, but I'm not a bonfire just yet. All right, RA says a flicker. Okay, so let's get into it. I want to share some stats first because we need to know that we are not alone in our journey with burnout. 76% of employees experience burnout on the job at least sometimes, and 28% feel burned out very often or always. The Harvard Business Review says that burnout costs organizations $322 billion annually in turnover and lost productivity. And the APA says that 77% of employees report work-related stress impacts their physical health, which I'm quite sure y'all know. All right, we're about to dive into what burnout is. But before I do that, I want you to tell me in the chat, what is the first word that comes to mind for you when you hear the word burnout? What's the first thing that you think? I say burnout, and you think tired, ooh, overwhelmed, tired, absolutely stressed, busy, stuck, overwhelmed, wearing a lead coat when it's time to go to work in the morning. Ooh, that's real. Okay, what's my purpose? Exhaustion that stops motivation. Colleen, you're the first one to get that bell, girl. That's a good one. I like that. Physically sick at the thought of going to work. Anybody here ever experienced the Sunday scaries? Hello, I feel you on that one. All right, so let me tell you what burnout is. Burnout is defined as a syndrome resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. So it's going to be characterized by three things: emotional exhaustion, cynicism or detachment, or reduced professional efficacy. So I feel like what I'm doing really doesn't matter, right? I end up doubting my own abilities or my effort and what I'm putting into things. And then I end up just kind of struggling to get things done, period. All right, there are 5 stages to burnout. The first stage is the honeymoon stage. This is where we wish we could stay. This is the stage where things are great and I'm in love with my job. I'm in love with this business that I've created and everything that I'm undertaking. It's just new and fresh and it feels good. When you are in the honeymoon phase, you might feel like you're extremely committed to whatever this thing is. I need to prove myself. And you find that your creativity is just free flowing through you. Your productivity levels through the roof. I'm satisfied with my job. I've got good energy levels and I just got unbridled optimism when it comes to what I'm doing. But the next stage is going to be the onset of stress. So that second stage is where we begin to become a little bit more aware that some days are a little bit harder than others. My optimism might be starting to wane just a little bit, and I might start to notice some of the common stress symptoms that can affect me physically, mentally, or emotionally. So what does that look like? I might start to feel anxiety. I might start avoiding decision making. I could see a change in my appetite. I might feel tired. I'm forgetful. I might start to just generally neglect some of my personal needs. Maybe you're grinding your teeth at night. I've got heart palpitations. I can't focus. I'm having headaches. See, that sounds bad enough, but there's 3 more stages, okay? Number 3, we are now in chronic stress. So now this is marked by stress levels going from I'm motivated to I'm experiencing stress on a more frequent basis. And some of those symptoms that I named, they are now becoming more intense than stage 2. So I might feel like I'm starting to exhibit aggressive behavior. Maybe I'm angry, I'm cynical. I feel threatened or panicked when I'm at work. I feel pressure or like I'm out of control. I might start to increase my drinking in this stage. You might be missing deadlines and targets. You are persistently tired in the morning. I'm procrastinating, or I'm even starting to socially withdraw from my friends and family. All right. Then we're on to stage 4. This is burnout. This is where my symptoms are critical, and continuing on as normal is often not really possible at this state because it's becoming increasingly difficult to cope with these symptoms. I've got chronic headaches. I might have chronic stomach issues. I am now completely neglecting my own personal needs. I have a desire to just drop out of society and just disappear. Maybe you want to move away from work or your friends and family. You're feeling empty on the inside, or you're obsessing over the problems that you're having at work or in your life. Your physical symptoms, they're intensifying. Right? They're increasing. I'm dealing with self-doubt and social isolation as well. And then lastly, as if you needed another stage, this is habitual burnout. This means that the symptoms of burnout are so embedded in your life that you're likely experiencing significant ongoing mental, physical, or emotional problems as opposed to just occasionally dealing with stress or burnout. So we're going to see chronic mental and physical fatigue, chronic sadness, and you might even be dealing with depression. Okay, danger zone. This is not where we want to be. All right, so now we need to talk about what burnout is not, because there are a lot of misconceptions around the term, and I want us to be clear on what we aren't talking about when it comes to burnout. Burnout is not just about being tired. Tired can be fixed with a great nap and a good night's sleep. Burnout is so much deeper than that. It's emotional, it is mental, it is physical exhaustion that sleep by itself cannot cure for you. Burnout is not going to be solved, unfortunately, by taking a weekend off, right? Doing a quick little staycation or getaway or taking off on Friday will give you some temporary relief. But in order to truly have a positive effect on burnout, it's going to require real change. We're going to need to set some boundaries. We're going to need some mindset shifts and some workload shifts. You're also going to need to start practicing some recovery techniques to help you as well. Burnout is not just an employee issue, right? Leaders get burned out too, because we often absorb the stress from both our own roles and the roles of our team members. We're juggling big decisions. We're juggling the budget and scheduling and conflict and constant demands, which makes us just as vulnerable, sometimes more than our team members. Burnout is not about being lazy or having a lack of motivation, and this often hits our high achievers the hardest. Okay, it is about overextending ourselves and running out of internal resources. Another point I really think is important to drive home is that burnout isn't just a personal issue caused by some failing that you have on your part. When we are facing it head on, we need to start looking for the systemic causes in our workplace, like workload expectations. So that means I'm doing more with less, I'm constantly juggling multiple priorities, or I'm working long hours. Maybe in your workplace, we have unrealistic deadlines, right? They're aggressive, they're inflexible, and they ignore your capacity or even your team members' bandwidth. Or we have a lack of autonomy, right? When you have little control over how you work, when you work, or what you work on, this can increase our stress. Micromanagement is going to be a very common cause for burnout. If you work in a toxic culture, if we've got poor communication, favoritism, blame culture, or a lack of recognition, workplace bullying, passive aggressive behavior, you're probably going to see burnout. Also, we cannot magically get rid of burnout by simply ignoring it and pretending like it doesn't exist. That truly is only going to make it worse. So without some type of intervention to help us, it can end up impacting our health, our relationships, and our performance in some pretty lasting ways. Here's what I want to know from you in the chat. How often do you let your work bleed into your evenings, your weekends, or your personal time? How often are you letting your work bleed into your evenings, your weekends, or your personal time? Is that something that you do rarely? Do you find it happening often or always? How often is work bleeding through for you? Much less often than I used to, says Colleen. Way to go. Frequently. Shannon says very often. Brianna says most of the time. Tamara says rarely. Oh, well, you go, Tamara. We are so happy for you. We're not jealous at all, girl. We don't want your life. I mean, a little bit, but okay. I like that. All right, we've got an often, less than I used to. Way to go, Heather. Ginger said it used to be a lot. My new job and new vibes. Honeymooning. Kelly says very frequently. Tracy says sometimes. Melissa says more than I should, but my team is pretty good about respecting work hours. That's a great point. We're going to talk about that. Tina says not often. I'm good about setting boundaries. Tina, we're not jealous of you either. We're good at it too. Like, we're great. We're so happy for you. Sonia says, I used to let it happen often, but I've learned work-life balance and I no longer do that. Hey, look at y'all out here living great. Okay, very good. So for the rest of us, not for the people that I just named that we're not jealous of, but for the rest of us, let's talk about why we struggle to face burnout head on. Here's the thing about burnout. Most leaders don't even see it coming. Not because they're careless and we're just like heads in the clouds, but because leadership itself comes with a set of traps. Traps that convince us that we should push harder, we should stay busier, I should work longer, and I should carry everything on my shoulders because I'm the leader, right? I'm the one with the title. The truth is that these traps do not make you a better leader. They quietly drive you straight to the loony bin, right? Straight into burnout, and sometimes, unfortunately, invincible, right? As leaders, we're often taught that we cannot show any weakness. We can't say that we're struggling. So we believe that if we admit, hey, I'm burning out, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I'm at my wit's end, I'm going to lose credibility with my team. All right. We're just going to push through, right? We end up pushing ourselves through until we hit a breaking point because we cannot allow our team members to see any signs of weakness in us. Next up is the productivity trap, where we end up equating our worth to our output. So many leaders tie their value to constant busyness, right? If I'm busy, if I'm overwhelmed, if I've got a lot to do, I'm doing a good job. And we end up overlooking the warning signs of burnout because we feel like if I slow down, what am I doing? I'm standing still, right? I'm not working. Not true. Next up, the responsibility trap. I need to carry it all. Leaders end up feeling responsible, not just for our workload, but for our team members' well-being too. So instead of setting boundaries, we just absorb more, we take on more, and in the end, we end up burning out faster, all right? Next up, the blind spot trap. We end up normalizing stress. So when everybody's overworked, we just look at that chronic stress as BAU. It's business as usual. It's just part of our job. It's how things flow here. And that keeps us from recognizing the warning signs of burnout and also from addressing it early enough to take care of ourselves and our teams. Or we fall into the martyr trap. I have to sacrifice myself for the team. Leaders may believe that if they work harder and longer, that's how I'm going to prove that I'm committed to this. And I end up setting unhealthy examples and quietly burning out in the process. Or lastly, the denial trap. I believe that burnout only happens to other people. It's not a me thing, that's a them thing. So that blind spot keeps them from facing our own burnout issues and supporting our team along the way. Here's what I want to know from you in the chat. Which one of these traps do you struggle with the most? Is it being this superhero and thinking, I have to be invincible and I cannot show weakness? Is it the productivity trap where you equate your worth to how much you output? Is it the responsibility trap where I have to carry it all? Is it the blind spot trap where you are normalizing chronic stress and like, this is just how it goes here? Or is it the martyr trap where you find yourself sacrificing yourself for your team? Or the denial trap where you're like, that's just for everybody else's issue. That's not a me thing. Which trap do you fall into? I see all of the above feeling real called out right now. All right, the martyr trap, responsibility. Oh, I see a couple of martyrs, productivity, another martyr. Responsibility, Shannon says she can relate to them all. Ginger says martyr. I think that might be a little bit of a mom thing too. It just becomes your default mode. Very great point. Productivity, responsibility, and blind spot. Okay, LaToya, you better take that whole list. All right. Here's the food for thought. I want you to think about this. You don't have to type your answers in the chat, but I am going to allow us to sit here for about 20 seconds in silence after I ask this question, because I really want you to think about it. If I kept working the way I do now for the next year, what would the cost be to my health, my relationships, and my leadership effectiveness? If you keep working the way you are working right now, what will it cost you? We are going to sit here for about 20 seconds in silence because I want you to think about this. So yeah, I'm showing two people in the waiting room. It keeps popping up. I don't know if they're actually there or not.
I don't see that. Can you, if you have the ability to admit them?
When I try to, there's nothing there. So I don't know if it's just something that keeps popping up or not, but I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing somebody.
Okay.
All right. If I kept working the way I do now for the next year, what would it cost me? All right. Let's talk about the signs of burnout. How do we spot the signs not only in ourselves, but in our team members? Let's start with how to spot it in our team members first. If you see or notice a drop in performance, right? Maybe they're making more frequent mistakes, they're missing deadlines, and they're slower at doing their jobs. If you see them withdrawing, they're disengaging in meetings, they're avoiding collaboration, or they're isolating themselves from the team. They're absent more, right? They're out sick, they're coming in late, they're leaving early. Their attitude's more negative, like they kind of have a what's the point attitude. They're irritable, they're complaining more than normal. Or you can literally just see the exhaustion dripping off of them. They are constantly tired, they're lacking any motivation, and they are mentally checked out. These are signs and something that we should look into. And I do want to briefly share a story about a leader that I worked with not too long ago, who came to me about his top performer and seeing some changes in them. And he already knew or believed he knew what the reasoning was behind it. And one of the things I quickly explained to him was, we are not going to go into this with certainty. I'm going to challenge you to go in with curiosity. We don't have top performers and see them completely fall off just because they are lazy or because they don't want to work. There's usually something more behind that. And so for anybody on this call who is married in a long-term relationship or has been, you know that over time that both you and your partner evolve, you change, you grow. The same is true for our team members and coworkers. And we don't go home with them, right? We have no idea of what they're going through. So as leaders, I'm going to challenge you when we start to see some of these warning signs. Instead of going in with a certain story and a belief behind what it is, I'm going to challenge you to go into these conversations with your team members. Number one, I'm going to challenge you to have the conversation in the first place, but to go into that conversation with a healthy sense of curiosity to hear things from their perspective. So let me tell you some of the common mistakes that we make when we address burnout with our employees, if we do at all. Number one, we ignore the signs. We pretend that it doesn't exist, or we just assume whatever it is, just like the leader I'm working with did. She's lazy, he's unmotivated. When we do that, we're allowing the stress to continue to build on their part, and it worsens engagement for them. Or when we do try to help, we're just offering quick fixes only. So we're giving temporary solutions like, hey, take a day off, or why don't you leave early on Friday, or come in late on Monday, or we're giving them a pep talk instead of actually addressing some of the systemic issues that cause burnout that we talked about earlier. Or we blame the employee. I am looking at their behavior. So I'm looking at the fact that Taylor's coming in late instead of examining her workload, her processes, or the team dynamics that could be contributing to this. And this makes our team members feel unsupported, unseen, and it increases their disengagement. Or one of my favorites, we overload people with more work, especially the high performers. God forbid you are good at what you do, right? You're a top performer. Guess what your gift is? More work. So we sometimes unknowingly reward effort with more work, and we are in turn, knowingly or unknowingly, fueling burnout for those team members. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. Or we fail to model healthy behaviors. Yes, I expect my employees to set boundaries and take breaks and prioritize their own well-being. Why I, on the other hand, am constantly working long hours and sending them mixed messages, okay? Employees notice, and then the culture for our team ends up suffering. Here's what I want you to tell me in the chat. What message does your behavior send to your team about work hours, about stress, and boundaries? What message are you sending to your team about burnout, about boundaries, about work-life balance? All right, I'm going to check the chat to see what y'all say. What message do you think you're sending to your team? Are you leading by example? Are you part of the problem? I'd love to know. What message are you sending to your team members? Colleen says, if I exhibit that behavior, it makes them think they should too. Absolutely, Colleen. I'm going to tell y'all a story here in just a second about another leader that I had. That stress is normal. Oof, Heather, definitely not leading by example. Thank you for your honesty, Heather. I'm going to ring that bell. Sonia, I was sending just dump it all on me, but now they know I have work-life balance and shut it off at 5. Way to go, girl. Miss Parrish, very good. It's always a great thing when leaders lead by example. I've always been all in and available, so I'm definitely not leading by example either. Okay, Shannon, very good. Good to know. I'm going to share a story about a leader that I had who took pride in the fact that she barely used the bathroom during the day so she could get more work done. She was very proud of that. Now, just so you know, the message that it sent us as her team was not that we should be going to the bathroom less. It was that she was crazy. Honey, you should go potty, right? So we were very lucky in our workplace that we looked at her and we thought, okay, we are not going to make our bathroom break decisions based on her bad bathroom choices, right? We're going to make different decisions, but that's not always the case in everyone else's workplace. We see our leaders working too long, not taking breaks, not taking vacations, and our team members end up imitating the behavior, all right? Now, what are the signs of burnout for us as leaders? First up, decision fatigue. I'm struggling to make the simplest, smallest decisions, or I'm procrastinating on the big ones, or I'm micromanaging or disengaging. I am either clinging too tightly to control, or I am completely checked out of the situation. Or we have a loss of strategic vision. I'm focusing only on survival tasks and then losing sight of all the long-term goals that we have as well. Or I'm emotionally volatile. I'm irritable, I'm impatient, or I am easily frustrated with my team. And then here comes back that martyr mentality. I'm working excessive hours, I'm skipping breaks, and I am modeling unsustainable habits. Okay, here's what I need to know from you in the chat. When you leave work, like when you end the day, do you end feeling drained, or do you still have energy left for your personal life? At the end of the day, are you just completely drained? Or, okay, hey, Ariel, she's depleted. All right, I see drained, depends on, I have energy left, drained. Some days I'm drained, I have some energy for personal life. Okay, drained. Depends on the day. When Brianna says energy is gone, honey, drained, but I find some energy on the way home. Yeah, usually that drive home, yeah, it might help you to perk up a little bit. Absolutely. Okay, interesting. All right. I want to share one more stat. This is going to lend towards us being great models for this in the future. Leaders who role model healthy boundaries make their teams 3.2 times more likely to report job satisfaction. All right, there are a couple of powerful truths that I need you to hear about burnout, and this is important for us as leaders to know. Okay, first up, burnout is contagious. When leaders are burned out, teams catch it quickly. Right? So that is why it is so important, not for us to just focus on how to help our team members, but we also have to focus on how to help ourselves as well. Next, hear me when I say this. Rest is not a reward. It is fuel. I just did a really good class on mental health and self-care, and one of the tips I shared in there is that self-care is not a luxury. It is not an indulgence. It's not a reward. It is maintenance. It's what we need to do not only to survive, but also to thrive. It has to become a priority. And it is so much more than just massages and yoga. And those things are wonderful, okay? But something to keep in mind, it is maintenance. It's not a luxury. High performance is unsustainable without recovery. You have to have a plan on how you're going to recover, how you're going to take care of yourself, and also work to create one with your teams as well, which we'll talk about here in a second. You can't lead others out of burnout if you're drowning yourself, okay? Now, I can give my teams tips and best practices and encourage them, but they're also going to notice that I am still doing the exact opposite of what I am asking them to do. We have to include ourselves in this process as well. The best leaders model sustainable practices, not martyrdom, okay? So we are going to lead by example. So now I want to share some best practices. We're going to start off with best practices for leaders, and then I'm going to share best practices that we need to be doing with our teams as well when it comes to burnout, okay? First up, I want you to prioritize your recovery just like you are prioritizing your performance. So we need to be scheduling breaks and sticking to them. Treat them as non-negotiable meetings with yourself. When and where you can, this next one, controversial, but when and where you can, take at least one full day off per week without checking emails. For most of us, that's going to be on the weekend. Okay, for me, it is on the weekends. But when and where you can, try to take one full day off per week without checking any emails, if the job that you have allows for that. Next up, we want to set tech boundaries. Turn off notifications after hours, which I think some of you said in the chat before. Use do not disturb on your devices. And then also do a good job of communicating your availability clearly to your team. We want to model healthy boundaries. This is when I'm going to be available, but outside of this is off hours and outside of work time for me. As leaders, We need to know the difference between prevention and recovery. So if we're going to prevent burnout, we need to be looking at workload management. We need to be creating a supportive culture for ourselves and for our team. We need to make sure that we are laying out clear expectations for what that looks like, and also prioritizing recovery time, not only for ourselves, but for our team. If we are trying to recover from burnout, that's going to include coaching for our team members and ourselves, time off. We need to sometimes restructure responsibilities and delegate, and support programs. And we're going to talk about delegation here shortly. Accountability and follow-up is huge. So I want you to commit to some type of post-training action, whether you're drafting up a personal action plan for yourself to help set better boundaries, to communicate expectations more clearly, to communicate your availability, also to have recovery plans in place. Work with your team, make this a team effort as well. Create team plans or a check-in system with your team to prevent burnout. Also, leaders, when we are checking in with our team members and doing one-on-ones, I want you to be asking them how they are truly doing. We should not be asking them just what they've accomplished for the week. We need to know. This is how we also will be able to pick up on some of these warning signs when there's danger ahead for burnout. This next one is really important for our team members, also for you leaders, but for our team members. We need our team members to know that they do not have to be in a full-on crisis before they ask for help. Early conversations are going to prevent bigger problems. So I don't need you to be drowning. Maybe you've only dipped your toe in and you can already tell this is a little bit too much. I don't have the capacity. I don't have the bandwidth. Emotionally, I'm not present for this. We can have that conversation before you completely fall into the deep end. And as leaders, we need to be making sure that we are communicating that and supporting that fact. They don't have to be in a full-on crisis to ask for help, and that's not what we want. Okay? Also, normalize conversations about stress without stigma. So hold regular check-ins that are going to include workload and stress discussions, not just task updates, which we do all the time. So I had a leader, and once a quarter, we would have a meeting over lunch, and it was called Bring Your Problems, Share Your Solutions. We would talk about workplace stress and the things that we were dealing with, and the team members would come in and suggest recommendations or offer their help, or we would delegate out different tasks to help each other in these situations. So one example was I had just left a territory and went to another one, and another team member had come into that territory. Well, they were having some problems connecting, building relationships, getting meetings with people. They were stressed. It was creating a lot of problems and making their work 10 times harder. When they shared that problem, I brought a solution. I have a great relationship in that territory. They love me. Let me do an official introduction for you. Let's hold a meeting together so that you can get in there and start to have the meetings that you need to and start to build relationships. Again, a simple thing, something we did once a quarter over lunch. It was not always our leader bringing solutions to the table. It was the employees driving a lot of those conversations. As leaders, we think that we have to know everything. You don't. And really, your employees are the ones with most of the information to help out. Also, share when you're feeling stretched when it's appropriate, right? We want to normalize that it is okay to not have it all together. Some of my best leaders are the ones who have admitted they were struggling too, and even asked the team, hey guys, I'm tired, I'm burnt out. What are some of the things that you're doing to take care of yourself? And we all shared those best practices together. Also reflect publicly on lessons that you have learned from your own mistakes or stressful periods that you've been through, because this is going to encourage a culture on your team of honesty and self-care. Next up, I need you to distribute the workload fairly and delegate effectively. Unfortunately, I find that a lot of leaders have never, ever been taught how to effectively delegate. And so we usually just kind of run with, I can't let this go because it's my baby and no one can do it as good as me, or it's just quicker to do it myself. Just taught a class yesterday on Delegation 101, and I'm going to share with y'all two of the biggest hacks that I talk about in that class for delegating like a pro. Number one, if the person can do it 75% as good as you need to give it to them. 75% as good as you delegate the task to them. First question that leaders are going to ask me, what about the other 25%? Great question, Melissa. Thank you for asking. I'm going to tell you what we do with it. The second hack for delegating like a pro, teach backs. Now, biggest complaint from leaders is, oh, it takes time to train, and then I have to train Abigail on how to do it. And it's just quicker to do it myself. I would rather spend 3 to 4 hours over 2 days teaching Abigail how to do a task that I will never do again than to keep doing it for the rest of my career. So we are going to invest time in the training. So what I'm going to have Abigail do, because she can do this job 75, 85% as good as me, I'm going to train her on it, and then I'm going to have her teach it back. And then I am going to teach to the gap. The 15 to 25% where she's confused, she doesn't have the steps in the right order, she's not really sure on how this works, I'm going to retrain on that portion. Not the entire thing, but just the gap of the 25, 15, 10%. Okay. This is also going to help Abigail to ensure that she understands the process. She knows the why behind it, the purpose, how it fits into our overall goals and structures. 75% as you, good as you, give it to them. Then have them do a teach back. Yes, it is an upfront time investment, but what could you do with an extra 20% of time on the back end? What would you do with that, with more time in your day? All right. So now that I've taught you this, oh, well, I forgot to give you the tips. This is important. I want you assigning tasks based on their strengths and growth opportunities. We should not just be assigning tasks based on who's left on the list. Okay, well, Brian's the only one left who didn't get something, so I'm going to throw it at him. Is it the right task for him? Does Brian have the right skills, capabilities, or capacity to do this task? Also, I'm going to challenge you leaders to start rotating your high stress task around to team members so that all of it is not falling on the same person. Shannon should not be shouldering the full burden of this huge report every month. I should be passing this around to other people. Here's the question I want you to think about. What could you delegate today? And today's probably too soon. What could you delegate in the next week to reduce stress? Just think about this, write this down in your notes. What could you delegate either today or in the next week to reduce your stress? Also, I want to share this, it's a huge part of the class that I teach as well. When we are delegating, it is not just about dumping off work that we hate to do. It's also about developing our team members, right? We are giving them a gift when we allow them to do additional tasks or to learn things that are usually outside of their purview. So think about that as well. What could reduce my stress, but also help to develop my team members? Next up, we want to reward effort and not just results. You need to start recognizing progress and persistence in your team meetings, not just the final outcomes. Also, when we have team members who go above and beyond, give them a shout out, send them personalized messages, acknowledge the effort, right? We want our team members to feel seen, to feel heard, and recognized for what they do. Autonomy, another huge part when talking about delegation. When and where you can, this is not always possible, but when and where we can, ask your team members how they would prefer to accomplish a task. What plan would you put together, Abigail, to do this certain thing? Then give her the space to decide. We need to avoid micromanaging and checking in. We just want to check in on results. We don't need to check in on every single step. If I have to check in on every single step that Abigail does, I might as well do it myself. That is not the point of delegating. Okay, so we're going to do check-ins, not check-ups, right? And we are going to allow her more autonomy to do things the way that she so sees fit, as long as it gets us to the desired outcome. Leaders, make sure you're investing in personal development and support. Schedule regular coaching or mentor or peer support sessions to help you and your team process stress and to gain a better perspective on it. Make sure you're attending workshops that are or trainings that are going to be focused on resilience, time management, mental health and self-care, or emotional labor. All right. Make well-being a metric of success. Incorporate wellness initiatives like let's have a walking meeting or a mental health day, or we're going to do 15 minutes of mindfulness together as a team in the break room. Okay. Incorporate those things into your team culture. And also, I'm going to challenge you to track and discuss burnout indicators alongside with your KPIs. Okay. I had a leader once in my last corporate job when I was in my dream job, loved it. I had just started, but it was a lot and I had to learn the ropes. I was working long hours and I was working on weekends. And so after a couple of weeks, she pulls me into my normal one-on-one and she says, "You're working a lot." And I was like, "Yeah, I am. I'm awesome. I'm really dedicated." And she was like, "Yes, you are. And I really appreciate that. But here's the deal. If you continue to work at this level, you're not going to stay with me. You're going to leave." She's like, "So I need you to pull back and we need to look at your workload and what you have going on." And the harsher truth that she shared with me is if you are working this many hours and this many days, you're not working effectively. We've got to fix this. I need you at home on the weekend with your family and focus on other things and to have a work-life balance or you will not stay. Truer words have never been spoken. And I have been using that leadership tactic with the leaders that I coach and train from that moment on. It changed things for me. It also changed how I saw her as a leader. And I felt as though she saw me, she understood because she had made mistakes of her own, but she cared about me as a team member. Okay. Then there are 7 types of rest that we need to avoid burnout. First up, physical rest. You need to make sure that we're getting sleep. We want to do some type of movement, stretch our bodies. Maybe you're doing yoga. Physical rest is important to avoid burnout. Then there is sensory rest. When and where you can, unplug from your electronic devices at the end of the day and give yourself some time away. There's also mental rest. Now, up on the screen, it says to take a break every 2 hours. Your job may not allow for that. Maybe you can only do it, maybe I'm taking 2 breaks as opposed to 0, whatever it is you can do, but make sure that you're giving yourself some types of breaks during the day. There's emotional rest. Here, we want to cut ourselves off from so much people pleasing. We want to spend more time being authentic when and where we can. Then there is spiritual rest. Practice meditation, practice prayer. Social rest. Let's spend time with people who make us feel good and who fill up our cups. Or creative rest. Here we want to do things that are going to allow our creativity to flow. So maybe we're going to listen to music. Maybe we're going to paint. Maybe we're going to go take a walk out in nature. Another food for thought question for you before we wrap up and open up for some questions. How often do I prioritize true rest? I just want you to think about this. How often do you prioritize this? And I'm talking about breaks. I'm talking about vacations. I'm talking about mental downtime, even lunch breaks. How often are you prioritizing getting away instead of just pushing through? Just think about that for a second. How often do I prioritize true rest, vacations, breaks, mental downtime instead of pushing through? Now, as a business owner, I can tell you I spend way more time prioritizing rest and my mental health and self-care than I ever did in corporate America. And Lord knows I really needed it there. But it's something that I cannot overlook in what I do now working for myself. Okay, so something I want you to take into account. So your takeaway action from here, homework for today before we quickly open up for questions so we can make sure to get you out on time. As a result of what you've learned today, I want you to think about what you can start doing, what can I stop doing, or what will I continue to do to help me to prevent burnout, not only for myself, but for my teams. What can I start, stop, or continue to do to help address burnout for myself as a leader and for my teams? All right. I want to open it up for questions and or takeaways. And Abigail, I know you'll take care of that. So I'm going to turn it over to you if we have any questions.
Yeah, that sounds great. I think to jump in to talk about my takeaway is something that I will start doing is the sensory rest. I'm always on electronics. I'm always just, my brain has to be fried. And so I think prioritizing that is going to be very impactful. And something I'm going to stop doing is checking emails over the weekend. It's like it always can wait until Monday. There's nothing I can do from my home. It's okay. And then something I'm going to continue to do is share when I'm struggling. I'm always going to be transparent and I'm always going to let my team know I need a little guidance, I need a little grace, and I need a little help. So just something to think about.
I love that.
Yeah. As these comments come in, or we reflect on our takeaways or questions.
I love that. Thank you for sharing those. That's a really, really good list. And I can tell you something I myself am currently working on is just asking for help. I'm not very good at asking for help. You know, I'm a solopreneur. It's just little old me. And so I feel like I just need to get everything done, but I have to do a better job of asking for help. And again, asking for help before it turns into a full-blown crisis. That is what I am currently working on for myself.
So Sonia has a comment. She said, "This has been so refreshing, and though I have work-life balance, looking at your best practices, I realize there are other areas I need to focus on for a better me."
Way to go, Sonia. Thank you for sharing. That's awesome. I love that.
Heather commented and said, "Any thoughts on when an employee is hiding really well that they are struggling? How do you work on that?"
Just addressing that openly, Heather,
Mm-hmm.
and bringing that to the forefront in team meetings, in one-on-ones, and just saying, hey, I want to do a better job of addressing burnout, not only for myself, but with, you all as team members. I want you to know it's okay for you to share when you're struggling, because this is how we're going to come up with some other things to help out with that struggle. I don't want you to be fully on fire before you come to me and then things are so far gone. We now have to work 10 times harder to fix it. So it's really about open conversations and communications around the fact that you're here to help. There's no need to hide or like to hold that information in, because the truth is that you really want to help your team members. Great question, Heather.
Yeah, that was great, Heather. Tamara did comment, and she said, "Thank you so much. This was great information to take back to my team."
Thank you, dear. Sonia, look at you, overachiever. You better take those notes for your manager and let her know, or him know.
All right. If there's any final thoughts, feel free to put them in the chat. I am going to go ahead and close this out. And I would like to thank everyone for coming to our webinar today. I will make sure to make this recording available on our YouTube within the next few days. And this information will also be sent to the email you used to register for today. And I would really like for everyone to join our next webinar. And the topic is how the power of connection promotes success. And it will be on September 30th at 11 a.m. And on behalf of the Leadership Institute, thank you for your questions and your engagement. It means a lot, and I hope to see everyone next week.
Thank you all so much for having me. Thank
you.
you. I'm happy to see your comment, Latoya. Good job in recognizing that for yourself. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Sonia. Thank you. Thank you, Abigail. You were awesome. Thank you so much for your help today.
Yeah, of course. I apologize for accidentally making you the host as we were scrambling, trying to figure everything out. Yeah.
It's fine.
Okay.
This kind of stuff, there's no stress here. Everything I tell myself all the time, we rarely do anything that's a tattoo that we cannot undo. Right. And so
Yeah,
it's
I need
quick
to note
fixes.
that.
Yes. And like, even with the sound, I wanted to get stressed, and I'm like, for what? I'm just going to call back in. We're just going to hold on for a second. We're still going to finish on time. There's nothing I can do. I don't know what's happened. I was still on the phone. I'm not sure what happened, but it all worked out. So, and luckily, it doesn't look like we lost anybody due to the difficulties. So we just quickly came back. And so hopefully that was maybe for somebody else a good thing to see for them as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay.
Awesome. This was good. Good group too. I love when they talk back.
I know. I'm very grateful that this was my first introduction to the moderating part of DLS.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this was my first time. It was great. Yeah.
Awesome. You did a great job.
Thank you.
And
I
look, for your
appreciate
first
it.
time, we have learned 1,000 lessons. So
That's what I was telling myself. I was like, this is gonna be such a learning lesson for the next time someone's audio goes out. I'm going to know exactly what to do, what to say. So it'll be great.
yes, yeah, it was, and I'm so happy that I could see you, and I saw you, and I saw you motion again, and I was like, something's wrong. I need to ask what's
Mhm.
wrong, and I asked. I noticed your facial expressions, and I saw that. So again, that's teamwork,
Absolutely.
making the dream work. Awesome. If you
Okay.
need anything else from me, let me know. I'll send over um, the information that you need as well.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. I'll let you know, but I think we should all be set, and I'll also talk to Brianna if I have any
Okay.
steps that I need to figure out. But thank you, Christina. I appreciate
Perfect. Thank you
you.
so
This
much
was
for your help
great.
today.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Have a happy Thursday, dear.
Yeah, you too. Have a happy long
Bye.
weekend.
Oh, me. Oh,
I know it's Labor Day.
I know. I'm traveling tomorrow. That's why I was so stressed this
Oh,
morning trying
that's
to get
so
everything done.
exciting.
So I'm just living for Friday, baby.
I know.
And I'm gone.
And then you're gone. All right.
Yep. So
Have a great
enjoy your
one.
long weekend.